Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Chevy Cool Lady, and this is Chevy Investigates and Opinionates. Today, we're going to be talking about an aspect of the Mica Francis case that is extremely important. And what we're calling this is loaded language. Words hurt, and words are used to control. And that's coercion, my friend. And that is illegal. There, or it should be. What we're talking about today is loaded language. When someone uses language to force you to perform an action against your will or manipulate you in any way, whether it's using authoritative control or you're at home, it really doesn't matter. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong to manipulate other people. Manipulation is witchcraft. Today we're going to be talking about loaded language, words that hurt, and ways that you can recognize and empower yourself to not be triggered into compulsion or out of a force of habit enter into an argument which could actually be dangerous, given that a lot of these coercive types are also narcissistic all the way up to psychopathic. We've been looking at one pretty close here the last 3 months, and we're going to talk about some definitions in the beginning. Please excuse that I've used AI to read the definitions in some cases just to kind of get through it faster than my slow southern drawl will allow. I love you guys. I appreciate you being here with me. Grab your coffee and okay, we're going to start with the definition of the phrase loaded language. Basically, loaded language is rhetoric used to influence an audience by using words and phrases with strong connotations. This type of language is very often made vague to more effectively invoke an emotional response and or exploit stereotypes. Loaded words and phrases have significant emotional implications and involve strongly positive or negative reactions beyond their literal meanings. We're talking about some examples here. Um, Politicians employ euphemisms and study how to use them effectively, which words to use or avoid to gain political advantage or disparage an opponent. Speech writer and journalist Richard Heller gives the example that is common for a politician to advocate. Quote, investment in public services, unquote, because it has a more favorable connotation than, quote, public spending, unquote. Investment in public services or public spending. See, the first one has the investment in the services that'll be rendered through your investment. Yeah, other than public
Jim
spending, where
Jones,
the
of the
public is
infamous
just
People's Temple,
spending. They're
used
just spending. It's
words
like
like
crazy. They've lost their
apocalypse,
damn
genocide,
minds.
and salvation
All right.
to create a sense of imminent danger
Let's go
and to
ahead
position himself as the only savior.
and
This
look
created
at
a
some
heightened
examples
emotional
for
state
you.
among his followers, making them more susceptible to his control. He fostered an us versus them mentality, referring to outsiders as enemies and traitors, which isolated his followers from the outside world and made them more dependent on him. Manson used terms like helter-skelter to describe an impending racial war, convincing his followers that they were chosen to survive and lead the new world. This created a sense of urgency and purpose among his followers. He often used violent and apocalyptic language to instill fear and justify his actions, making his followers believe that extreme measures were necessary for their survival. David Koresh used loaded religious language, presenting himself as the Lamb of God, and using terms like prophecy and revelation to legitimize his authority. This gave his followers a sense of divine purpose and made them more willing to follow his commands. He instilled fear of eternal damnation in his followers, convincing them that disobedience would lead to spiritual ruin. For the sci-fi religion freaks, Marshall Applewhite used terms like ascension, evolutionary level above human, and spaceship to create a narrative that his followers were destined for a higher existence. This language made his followers feel special and chosen, reinforcing their loyalty. He warned of catastrophic consequences for those who did not follow his teachings, creating a fear of being left behind or missing out on salvation. These leaders used loaded words to create emotional responses, instill fear, and foster a sense of exclusivity and urgency among their followers. This manipulation made it easier for them to control and exploit their followers.
We need to shine light on these very dark subjects. And part of this that came to me was language. Language is weaponized in abusive relationships, and um, not just words, but phrases are very powerful in meaning. And when repeated often enough, they actually become triggers in our brain. People who are narcissistic, control hungry, learn to use words, loaded words, if you will, words with power, words that hurt. And we're going to go over some of these because some of these manipulators are very good. And one thing I learned when I was in sales, I worked in a call center actually as a bill collector, believe it or not. And I did learn how to actually communicate with people because I needed to learn those skills in life, and it was a life lesson working there, good and bad, but lesson nonetheless, and I gained from it. Communicating, like we used to say, communication rocks the nation. Words can cut like a knife. The power of life and death is in the word. It's in the tongue, I should say. The power of life and death. It doesn't get more brutal than that. And that is Bible talk. I want to go over some of these words to give you what in collections we used to call rebuttals, so that you won't be triggered into a response that maybe you had previously gone down that road so many times that it's like a natural response. That's what trigger words are. If you hear certain words, it triggers a response. If you hear genocide, if you hear vermin, if you hear enemy, Satan, whatever you might want to call trigger words. There's also trigger phrases, and trigger phrases are phrases designed by um, people who are wanting this kind of control over other people, manipulative people, if you will. And some of the more famous ones are like Jim Jones of this famous Jonestown Flavor Aid massacre. He had some phrases that we'll talk about in this next video. Charlie Manson, of the family. These people. He did something that did remind me of a certain JP figure that we know. He liked to do parodies. Parodies, believe it or not, parodies. Here's a guy who he had wanted to be a movie star. He wanted to sing. He had musical abilities to an extent. I think he wrote one song that kind of took off a little in local circles in California. But this guy did a parody on a song, a parody on a Beatles song called Helter Skelter, all about a racial division, a racial war. And he believed it would start with the acts that he had. And yes, it was controlled. It was alphabetically controlled, if you know what I'm saying. It absolutely was, along with a lot of other things. That's a topic for another day. We're talking about loaded language, and guys like him and another dude and the third dude that I mentioned all use phrases, catchphrases. If you wanted to argue with Manson, he'd say, "No sense makes sense." Argue with that, if you will. Okay, stuff like that. Um, we're going to discuss this more in depth. So thanks for joining me. I hope this
Linguistic
intrigued you. I
tactics are
found it really
strategies used
fascinating,
to
and it still is
influence,
a study and
persuade,
an
or
interest of mine.
manipulate
So
through
I'm sure you're going to
language.
see it come up quite a bit.
Here
Let me
are a
know
few
what you
key tactics. Framing, presenting information in a way that influences perception. For example, calling a tax reform instead of increase can shape public opinion. Metaphors, using metaphors to create vivid images and simplify complex ideas. For instance, describing the economy as a machine that needs tuning. Repetition, repeating key phrases to reinforce a message. This is often used in advertising and political speeches. Loaded language, using words with strong emotional connotations to sway opinions. For example, calling a policy draconian instead of strict. Grice's maxims, these are conversational principles that include being truthful, informative, relevant, and clear. Violating these maxims can subtly manipulate conversations.
When common ground is lacking between two people, the sender may apply linguistic tactics to convince the receiver about stereotypic expectations in order to establish a similar viewpoint. The strongest signs of linguistic bias, however, are usually in communication between a sender and receiver that shares a view about a target.
Good Christian leaders draw from a biblical Judeo-Christian cause of morality, while many cult leaders choose to define new phrases to create a single sense of belonging to something special or secretive that only certain chosen ones understand. You see, occult groups use esoteric phrases, for example, to draw followers into their circles. Of course, Scientology is full of phrases, so many that they've actually filled a 350-page book that followers must study to show themselves approved. By using emotionally charged words and phrases, they create a sense of belonging, in group or out of group. It's us versus them mentality, and we see this very clearly in JP's narratives, especially his letters. He tries to create an emotional empathy to set the stage, and then through repetition creates the narrative he falsely portrays, like his relationship with Mica, for example. He tries to pretend they were just the perfect, happy couple. But we know that this isn't true. All right, everybody, we're going to share from a letter that John Paul submitted with his latest affidavit, which he turned in for no apparent reason other than to discredit Micah and her family. In my opinion, if you have a different opinion, please leave that in the comment box and let me see what you're thinking about. Now, this particular letter was dated Friday, December 22nd, 2017. She was in the hospital at the time, hospitalized due to a reaction to the anesthetic she was given for her augmentation surgery. I believe that's correct. If I'm not, let me know uh, where she was. I believe this was very shortly after her surgery, when she had a reaction. So you would think that he'd be kind and loving, still honeymooning and worried about his wife, but that's not what I'm seeing. Let me know what you think. Let's go ahead and read it. Hey, baby. This has probably been the most difficult time of my life. I don't know what I'm emailing you for other than to help explain in words what has happened and how I feel and how much I love you. Our future. Let me say that many doctors, nurses, and caseworkers and friends with experience in being in a relationship with someone who is bipolar have all been preparing me for what could be the worst case scenario. One of your nurses even told me, you may only see the wife who you married once every several months. Her personality disorder could regularly be someone you don't even know. Now, mind you, he's known her since she was 14. Give me a break. Sorry, I couldn't go on. They have warned me about making sure you take your medicine. They warned me about your water intake and helping you get proper sleep and how I may have to watch you and take care of you the rest of your life. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Wow. How many times in just the first little bit has he used the word I, me? Oh my gosh. Several professionals have talked to me about getting a counselor who I can go on to in a regular basis about my emotional needs and my stress and fears, all in dealing with all of this, meaning all of you. What they mean, because he has to reiterate and give a definition, is that it's difficult to love someone who doesn't love you back in the same way they did before they had the psychotic episode. They tell me there's a chance that I would have to hold back secrets and intimate things that I would normally share with you. Gross. In fear that you could repeat it in irrational settings or in public. They told me about cases where people have run outside naked or where the bipolar patient thinks their spouse is crazy. There have been so many different scenarios that I've been warned about. I honestly can't even begin to express the weight of all that we both may have to bear in our future because of this vicious attack from the enemy. The devil is a liar. And so are you, John Paul, and so are you. I have been studying healing all throughout the Bible this past week. Whether Jesus uses a supernatural miracle, or he uses a doctor, medicine, or constant evaluation, I believe you will be healed. I believe we will be healthy. I said all of this to say this. I said all of that to say this. I love you so much. Even if you got so sick that you didn't know who I was, or if you fell out of love with me because you really didn't know reality. Oh, yeah. The only way she would fall out of love with them is because she doesn't know reality. Or if things got so tough that you were once in a place where I could only visit you 1 hour a week for the rest of our life, which is one nurse told me could possibly happen. Oh, nice. Here he says, I believe you'll be healed and we will be healthy. Now, one nurse said this could possibly happen. Permanent institution. He's holding this over her head, being permanently in an institution while she's in an institution. I can't imagine how this must have affected her. I hope she was medicated at that time and didn't have to really. Anyway, it's just bad. Okay, so I want you to know in big letters, I will always be true to you. I'm assuming he shouted it. I will always love you. I will always take care of you, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much it costs, no matter how much counseling I would need, no matter what you want or what you think or where you are. I will always love you. Oh, sorry. I will always love you, and I will always fight my very best to honor you for the rest of my life. My ultimate gift would be that you return to the same never give up, do what it takes attitude. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. I love you and I will take care of you forever because I'm a martyr and that's what I do. I'll get all the counseling. I'll get everything I need because I'm full of fears, doubts, and woes, and I need help so I can be there for you. Even if I only have to see you once a week on visitation, but I'll be there, baby. Okay, my rant is done. Phew. Okay. The past 10 days, this has been hell. It's almost impossible to explain it to you in a way where you would understand because she must be really stupid, I guess, in his estimation. My pain, because of the sickness that is attacking you, is in the area of your mental consciousness. I hope you can follow this. Oh my gosh. But because you weren't able to rationalize what is rational, no amount of rationalism would help. Smiley face. Really? Really? Because you're the only one rational and nobody but a rational person could understand what you're saying because certainly Mica's not rational. You're the rational one. Just because she's not buying what you're trying to sell does not make her irrational. Okay, let's continue. What I mean is all the pain, fear, difficulty, exhaustion dealing with your family, doctors, nurses, caseworkers, your boss, lawyers, etc., is something that you may never understand. And I want to share everything with you, the triumphs and the tragedies. My hope is that you can look back and say, I can't believe I showed the nurses and doctors and securities my boobs. I can't believe I would sing everything is opposite when you believe in God every 5 minutes. I can't believe I was more concerned with my makeup than I was in getting out of that facility and many, many, many more things that old Micah would have understood. I want you to see that this is the scariest thing of our entire lives. Um, because she didn't want to go home, because she was happy and singing. Oh my gosh. And I guess they're her boobs and she can show them to who she wants, okay? If she even did that. You know, he just did that. He said all this just to humiliate her and make her feel small and make her feel embarrassed at her uh, just uncomely behavior. Oh, the old Micah would have never done these things. I'm so sure she would have understood. She would have been rational. She would have been in love with old John Paul. After 5 minutes at the ER in Conway, that psychiatric doctor committed you against my wishes. He then promised me that I would get to drive you or ride with you in an ambulance to the hospital that would take care of you and allow me to be with you every single day and night. After waiting for 8 hours, and here we go, a black sheriff, the black is capitalized, so a black sheriff, is that his name? Is he part of the black family? I don't know. A family of sheriffs? I don't know. Why does it matter, right? Go ahead, JP. Put up in a van where they had sent me to escort you to a metal box all alone. I watched the van drive off with my wife, and all I could do was sit in the ER waiting room and cry for 2 hours. Then I'd like to know what he really did. Then they told me that I could only see you 2 hours every Saturday, and this has been documented in group text and with your family. Document. Text is a document now. I called lawyers, doctors, friends, etc. And the more I tried to get you back to normal, the happier you were at that facility. Yeah, they were probably nice to her there. The pain of hearing you say you enjoyed where you were and you wanted to stay there for months rather than come home was the most painful thing I ever heard. Can you fathom that pain? I'm sorry, I yelled on my own. Question, 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 question. I'm not telling you this for you to feel bad. Oh, no, no, not at all. I'm telling you this because I want to share everything with you. I want so badly for you to look back and say, wow, that was crazy. I want us to laugh about this one day. Oh my gosh. Financially, I was working with blah, blah, blah to get all this taken care of, but you informed her about how much money you make and how the church pays our house when sending her our 2016 financials in November 2017 is all she needs. So you gave her too much information. I was trying to pull the wool over her eyes, and he said, I guess I'm just saying, I hate feeling that we aren't on the same team. Yeah, because she's on the team being honest. What team does that put you on, JP? I want to be with you on your team, and I want you on my team. No, he doesn't want to be on her team. He wants her on his team. And if he feels like she's not, he's hurt. He's butt sore about it. I want you next to me in everything I do. I love you, Mica Miller, my possession. I added that part. Number 3. Help. Okay. After seeking wisdom from all types of doctors, counselors, and friends, he always has the whole crew with him. He never can do anything without his whole entourage, doctors, counselors, friends. I think we need a help, quote unquote, help team. I'm told that it would be a great benefit to us to have a couple who is extremely rational, like I am, who can help us when things get confusing. I don't want to be the one who always corrects you, because you always need correction. I don't want to spend the rest of our life telling you if something sounds irrational or unhealthy. So I would like for us to use blanky to blank. They have someone in their family who suffers from bipolar, so therefore they're an expert. In fact, blank had to spend most of his childhood making sure that his mother took her medicine, or else she would do very embarrassing things, like the things you did. I'm so embarrassed. He understands me because we're embarrassed by bipolar people. They love us both very much and are willing to be the couple who we text if things ever get out of balance for us. For the real world. The real world. I have referred to the movie. Oh my gosh, here we go. Mad Force. I have referred to the movie A Beautiful Mind. Oh yeah, about a crazy person. Several times throughout this journey. In this movie, the brilliant man was suffering from delusions and mood swings. He had no idea that it wasn't reality. He had no idea he was being irrational. His wife and friends tried to help him, but it was to no avail. After decades of dealing with the mental sickness, finally he realized the people who he thought were real, that everyone else said was delusions, it occurred to him that they never age. So even though everything in his mind and all his strength told him that these people were real, his intelligence was confirming that because they never age, they must not be real. He continued to see and hear those delusions of people, and it was very hard not to interact with those thoughts. But he submitted to his wife and reminded himself daily that the delusions can't be real because they don't age. Now, remember the little story about her playing chess with imaginary people? Probably got it from that movie. In the same way, your thoughts are telling you that some things are real and able to happen or are good ideas, but in reality, they aren't. I'll just throw in, because they're not my ideas and I'm the rational person. Here he goes. I can't imagine what you're going through and what you went through. I can't imagine the confusion and frustration you must be bearing. The mind is such a complex and amazing piece of art, and God has fearfully and wonderfully made us, and our minds hold power beyond what we deserve. True. I can't imagine thinking that the sky is blue and having everyone around me tell me it's pink. To me, that's a fair analogy to describe your pain and confusion, placing her in a completely irrational field, and him understanding, because that's his metaphor to use, something that ridiculous. Everything in you and all you feel and know and fathom is telling you that the sky is blue. Then you have myself and these strangers, me and my entourage, me and the whole rest of the world, including professionals, these strangers who are called doctors, telling you the sky is pink. I'm sorry. Did he mean to say it like that? Everything in you and all you feel and know and fathom is telling you that the sky is blue, and then you have myself and these strangers who are called doctors telling you the sky is pink. Oh, he switched it. That was clever. I am so sorry for all of this. I'm so sorry that you had to go through all this, all the sickness or issues that the enemy could attack us. This is more severe than I would have con- concocted on my scariest day. To attack you with your mind is something is not something I take lightly. The devil will pay for this. I will not allow him to win in any way. And really, oh my gosh. Okay, number 5, the truth. The truth is, I'm scared. I feel all alone. I feel like I'm fighting. Oh, look at all the I, 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 which I'm the only soldier, and my co-captain has left me. In other words, you abandoned me. I am worried about the future. I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about our finances. I'm worried about and concerned deeply about us. Us. I have prayed like never before. I have cried like never before. I want to say I've stood strong in the faith, but the truth is I don't know if you are going to be okay. All in one letter, he went from, I believe you're going to be healed and healthy, and whether God uses medicines, doctor, he went from that to not knowing anything at all. I don't know again if I'm going to have my real wife, the rational wife, the wife that's in love with me, not the irrational wife, the one who's delusional and not in love with me, the one that's happier away from me. I want to have my real wife back. I don't know how to even explain to you all my concerns. I feel like somehow I deserve this. My head is shaking. My flesh can't help but think about my past and how if I knew what was going on, if so-and-so knew what was going on, they'd be so happy and celebratory. I can't help but think this is my lot in life. For what? What are you referring to? Your adultery and now it's being paid back? I don't know. Just a thought. And now I will have to live for the next 50 or 60 years with the burden of making sure you take your medicine or don't do anything you do regret when you are in a sane mood or mindset. These fears have consumed me lately. Oh, now this beautiful, beautiful wife is a burden for the 50 or 60 more years. However, I'm sorry. However, even though I'm scared, even though I have a legitimate concerns even though I feel pressure like I've never felt before, I want you to know that I'm in this all the way. I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to live angry or bitter or fearful. I'm going to take this one day at a time for the rest of our life. I don't know what each day holds, but I do have faith that we will have some really great days ahead. I don't know if the next day will be a day of aggravation, fear, strife, sickness, or if tomorrow will be a day of unity, peace, love, like-mindedness, enjoyment. But either way, I'm going to do all I can to make your life great. I can't believe that the devil would dare attack my wife in the area of her mind. I can't believe that the devil would put us through all this hell on earth. I can't believe that he thinks he's going to get away with this. I will spend the rest of my life fighting against the enemy till he runs at the very thought of JP and Mica. I thought the Bible said the battle's not mine, but the Lord's. Okay. I will spend my life being loyal to you and loving you with everything in my blank. I am your husband and your best friend, and I will always be that for you, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. I give you this promise, your husband to repeat. Sent from my iPhone, and when I see that, it always reminds me of the baby reindeer. I don't know why. Anyway, that was pretty disgusting. And I think he used absolutely every trick in the book. He made it us against them, or in this case, us against Mica, with his constant reference to doctors, nurses, friends, other couples, everything. Well, I need a whole group of people to protect me and my feelings, my fears, and my apprehensions. I need the rational people on my side against you. But if you want to go back to being the old wife, the old Mica, then we can have all the good things. In either case, you're a big burden and you're an embarrassment. I mean, that's basically what I got out of the letter. Tell me what you think about the letter. Tell me what you saw in it. The repetition, the loaded language. You know, he's a classic, all right. But I'm not going to say a classic what, but it begins with a P. All right, now, y'all take care. I hope you enjoyed this little video. There's another one on the way. I just kind of took a little break and threw this one out for y'all to consider. The next video is actually comparing JP to the cult leaders that we're so familiar with, because I do believe, in my opinion, that that's exactly what he is. He is a false prophet and a reverent person who's blasphemed the name of God, who uses God as a weapon for his own purposes. And if he had loved Mica 1/10 of how much he loves himself, things might have worked out quite differently. But to me, he's a selfish SOB. And I do pray for him, and I pray for the church members, especially those who are still sticking with him, in my opinion, deceived and deluded. I'm praying for justice for Mica every day, throughout the day, and I'm doing what I can to put awareness out there. I ask y'all, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for your patience and your love, and all of you who encourage me. I just love you guys. You're the best.